A lot of you have asked me about the sales engineering profession, and while I do have some insight into it, both based on my engineering background and being in tech sales, I'm really not an expert. And it's why I always look to have more people on the channel, and it's also why I'm really excited to have had Ramzi, who you'll see today, who runs the We the Sales Engineers channel on YouTube. I'm going to put a link into the description below if you'd like to give him a follow. He provides really great, and I might also add realistic information about what it takes to break into the career and what it's like on a day-to-day basis. But nonetheless, if you're looking into sales, if you're looking into sales engineering, I guarantee you'll get a lot out of this video. And as always, I appreciate your time and hope you get as much out of this interview as I did.
Thanks for joining. And for everyone watching, Ramzi is the founder of We the Sales Engineers. So definitely go check him out on YouTube, also a podcast, and I'll give you the floor as well if you want to plug that and any other platform there as well.
Oh, yeah. So We the Sales Engineers, a resource for sales engineers by sales engineers with me. I also have a coaching service if people want to be better at being sales engineers or looking to transition into sales or looking to get into sales engineering. I can help with any of those or all of those, depending on your requirements and needs.
Obviously, the reason I had you on today, I get a lot of people asking me about what it's like to be or how to get to that sales engineering path. Not only are you obviously there, but helping others break in. And I think that's a common misconception, or a lot of people maybe don't know where to start. So before we get into that, maybe your individual path to sales engineering, right? Take us kind of how you got there. I know you've been working for, almost a decade in tech. So kind of break it down and we'll take it from there.
That makes me sound old. Yeah, so I went to a university here in Carleton, studied communications engineering, which is similar to electrical, with a last year being focused on communication, but we call it communication from the start. Graduated in 2009 during the height of the recession. Couldn't find a job. Found a job at a barbecue. Like, I went to a barbecue. Someone saw me wearing a Nortel shirt. It's like, "Oh, you work at Nortel?" I'm like, "No, I interned there, and they went bankrupt as soon as I left. So I've been taking credit ever since." But she got me. She was looking. She worked at Alcatel-Lucent. They were looking for a support engineer. She coached me throughout the interview process. I had to overcome a couple of obstacles because seems that there were multiple people advocating for other individuals. I got the job. Did support for a couple of years. Then went up and did network design, engineering. So Verizon Wireless, if there's an outage, that's probably my fault. So did that for a couple of years, was severely underpaid, was doing a senior person's job. My manager knew it, I knew it, everybody knew it. They couldn't give me a raise. So I started looking outside of my company for a different position, didn't care what it was. Found a job called systems engineering, applied to it, got the job. Turns out it was sales engineering. So a different title for sales engineers. And I have a video on my website all about the different titles that sales engineers have, because it's confusing. Similar to account executive, regional sales managers, account manager, similar to that. So, and I got into sales engineering in 2014, been in sales in one way, shape, or form since then. I'll pause here. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate on being the underpaid support engineer. So my sympathies out to you. That's always a tough position to be in.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing too, and I'm sure we'll break it down like even more, right? So when you go from maybe, and I'm sure what we'll talk about as well, we've talked about this on your channel as well, in terms of support potentially being a good avenue into sales engineering. You obviously have the engineering degree and background. Maybe in your case specifically, and then we'll start to broaden out, like when you're transitioning more to this sales role, what were some of like the hardest transitions or like learning pains that you had associated with that move?
Okay, let me start off by saying the reason I went into engineering is because I didn't want to talk to people. And as soon as I got into it, and especially in support, I realized like my job is talking to people. Although I'm an engineer, if I can't communicate a thought or convince a customer of a process that they need to do to resolve a problem, then I'm not really doing my job. One of the biggest things that I had to learn is to ask questions. Like, as engineers, we're all about solving problems, and so we just jump in and we think we know what your problem is, and this is the solution to it. And it turns out it's a completely different problem that we're talking about. So just to ask questions and then shut up and listen, that was the difficult one. Also, asking the right questions to get the customer to see, like we were talking earlier, that some customers are set in their ways. They want to do things in a specific way that doesn't work. Okay, how do you change their minds? Well, you can't just tell them, do this is better for you. So you're going to have to basically ask questions. You're going to have to persuade them. You're going to have to convince them that the way you're thinking may work in vacuum or may work in certain situations. In your current situation may not work. So, and the biggest thing that sales engineers have to do is work with so many different people. Work with salespeople, work sometimes with SDRs, not so much, but work with customers for sure, all types of different customers. And being an introvert SE, if I'm talking to someone who's another introvert engineer, it makes the conversation very difficult because they don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. So we have to talk with product management, product marketing, other SEs, other salespeople. So basically learning to get out of that zone that you're in and be active and be proactive in dealing with other people, that was a skill that took me a while to learn.
And I'm curious too, like in your own experience, how much maybe your engineering background helped you? How much, at what point is there a diminishing return? And then, yeah, I'll pause there and then we'll kind of look at the broader breaking in landscape.
For me personally, when I worked in support, I worked in a communications company. Like it was called Alcatel-Lucent. They did routers and switches. So for that, I needed an engineering degree. The engineering degree did not help me do my job. It just showed that I can learn, right? But everything I learned for the job, I learned on the job, not from university. That being said, what I learned at Alcatel-Lucent helped me get a job as an SE because I worked in the same industry. So for me personally, if I didn't have that, I 100% would not have gotten the job.
Yeah.
But that being said, there are multiple industries out there, right? Not everything is networking or security. There's a lot of SaaS where you don't have to be an engineer like me to be able to become an SE. Is that the question that you were asking?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's a good segue too, in terms of that's one of the things, even in tech sales, right? It's like not every tech sales job is created equally, where, you know, if you're selling a highly technical product, maybe as a direct salesperson, you don't need a technical background per se, but you definitely have to flex some of those skills throughout the interview process as well. Maybe before we get into like the interview specific, let's dive into that point on how not every sales engineering position or company is created equally, right?
Yep.
What maybe even based on your own interactions with people watching your channel, students you've coached and helped, how do you level set? If I'm new to the tech world as a whole, where's my entry point? And feel free to take that where you want. I know it's a broad question. So
well, so I get a lot of that question. People come to me, it's like, I want to become an SE, but I'm not technical. So I tell them, all right, turn on your work computer, open up Start or whatever. If you use Apple, I'm sorry, I can't give you an example, but click the Start button, see what software you have on there. You are technical in all these software because you use them on a daily basis. Some you might not, but most you do. And you are a customer of that company that sold that software. So you already have some technical know-how. It might not be an engineering degree, it might be a computer science degree. You might not know how to write code at this point in time, and you may never need to know how to write code. But you know the software because it's on your computer and you're using it. Right? Pick the top 3 that you use every day. You know the software, you know the customer because you are one. You know exactly what they're looking for, what they need, what's the benefit of that product. And you might not know the technology as much, but you're halfway there because you've been clicking around on that thing forever. So from that perspective, you are technical. And these are your best bets to get a job as an SE. Some people can get a job somewhere else. I was working with one. She worked at the government. She worked in budgeting. So when we were working on how to get a job, she targeted companies that sell into the government and sell budgeting software. She's not a technical person, but she knows the customer, she knows the industry, and she knows what the software could help, because They don't use the software. They use an Excel spreadsheet. So now she knows the benefit of that, and she was able to articulate that in an interview process.
Yeah.
And we're still working on getting the job, but it looks highly promising.
Yeah, for sure. I think absolutely. And that's something I think holds well in sales as well for other people trying to break into tech is like, if you have exposure to an industry, certainly finance is one I see often, right? Like, yeah, you can sell a fintech that's, selling a secure B2B financial platform to handle international transactions as an example. Like that's a very real thing that I've coached through as well. So very cool. I think from my end too, it's now maybe whether it's your peers, people you're working with as well from a background perspective. I know we kind of touched on go to your background in terms of what experience you have, but maybe you do have your heart set on being a sales engineer at long term, maybe like a large company, a FANG of the world or whatever it might be, right? Or a more technical company than where you're at right now. How do you even begin to evaluate if that's the path? What are reasonable expectations and how would I begin to approach that?
So it's very dependent on the company, obviously. I mean, some companies need more technical expertise than others. The first thing I would say, just to put it out there, resumes don't get you jobs. People get you jobs. I don't know how many people got their job after applying online. I just received a rejection from 2 years ago. So best thing to do is start connecting with people within that company that you want to, like that dream company. Don't connect with them with the expectation of getting a job. You're not going to get a job. But you can connect with them, tell them like, hey, I'm interested in the sales engineering role, and I see you're in one. And that could be any other role. It doesn't have to be sales engineering. Any role. I'm interested in this role, and I see you're there. I would love to learn more about it and what I need to do to get there. Do you mind if we chat for a few minutes? Right. Send 100 of those messages. You get 5 that say yes. Yeah, so you're in tech sales, it's a numbers game. Send as many as you can. Max out your LinkedIn connection requests. Get 5 yeses. Then jump on a call with them. And ask them, what's it like to be an SE at this company? What is it that I need to do to be an SE? What technology do I need to have? Gather all that information, and based on that, build a plan of what you want to do in the future. Is it worth, let's say they say, you need to know Python, you need to know API, you need to be certified in whatever our company offers. Is it worth your time? Do you still want that job? Are you willing to put in the work? And I see a lot of people who do boot camps and they exit that boot camp expecting the job to land in their lap. It's never the case, right? No matter what boot camp, if they promise you a job right after, they're lying to you. You're going to have to put in the work. It's a lot of work. It's an entrepreneurship path, right? Getting a job is kind of like what an entrepreneur goes through to start a business. You're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs. Are you willing to push through it? If you are, get certified in whatever they told you to be certified in. And you don't have to get all the certifications. Get one, show that you can learn, then go back to that person. It's like, hey, last time we talked, you said I need to know this, and I got certified in it. What do you think now? What should I do? Are there any job openings that I should apply to? Is there anybody else that I should meet? Right. So just build your network, build your knowledge. It can be slow, and it can be fast. I mean, interview processes in general take between 3 to 6 months for sales engineers in general. So you have time to study at least.
And then in the day-to-day job, I'm sure we could talk about this for a long time as well, but maybe painting that picture too for viewers of my channel or yours that are questioning the 2 paths of direct sales engineering, right? What are the biggest differences in the role? And I'm curious on a personal note, is that something you've ever considered making the full switch to as well?
To tech sales?
Yeah.
So I've done the switch to sales. Well, they call me a solution specialist, but in reality, I'm an account executive. I don't like it. I want to go back. My boss knows it. I didn't make this choice. Maybe if I made the choice, I would feel differently. But anyways, I don't like it. And as a tech sales, I don't have the temperament. Yeah. I don't think I can call people all the time, and it's just it's not in me. I much rather be in the middle part of the sales cycle. So if I recall the question correctly, what do you want me to contrast the day-to-day of an SE versus an SDR?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to defer to you for the SDR part because I've never been one. But for an SE, there are different types of SEs as well. There are like inside SEs, there are field SEs, there are specialist SEs. If you think about an inside SE, it's kind of like an SDR where they're sitting behind a desk and doing demo after demo after demo after demo. At least that's how I imagine SDR sitting on a phone and calling people one after another. That's an inside SE. They're not really part of the sales cycle. They're just part of the demo. They come in, SDR brings in the deal, account executive does most of the work, provides information to the SE. SE jumps on the call, asks a few questions, does the demo, jumps out, goes to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So it's very transactional. So this is usually true for not very complex products that don't have way too many features, or for small and medium-sized businesses where they can't afford an SE to fly to every single customer to talk to them. So they're just inside SEs. Field SEs, it's you have pooled model where you have a bunch of account executives, they open a ticket, they need an SE, and an SE is assigned to them for that specific opportunity. Or you have SEs that are tied to account executives. I'm partnered with only these two executives or one executive, and I'm never touching anybody else. Yeah, in a very platonic way. In either case, for the pooled model, it's similar to what the inside SE is. They're not visiting customers as much, but they're definitely on calls earlier in the sales cycle. So the day might look like wake up, go to the bathroom, drink coffee, whatever, and then prepare for a demo. And then jump on a discovery call because the demo that they're preparing for is not until next week, for example, or a few days. Jump on a discovery call, have some questions, then send follow-up notes after the call. Then they might have an internal call, then they need to prepare again for the demo, jump on a proof of value concept call, kickoff. So there's a lot of preparing and being on the call with customer. For field SEs, there's a lot of customer visits that you add onto the mix. Because when you have two account managers or one account manager, the customer set is smaller. Right? I have my customers are located in Ottawa, for example, and there's like 3 major ones. So I'm always on site visiting them, and I do some of my work from their offices, preparing for demos, preparing for discovery calls, and all that. And then you have specialist SEs, where you have the generalist SE that covers all the portfolio in a certain company, and the specialist SE focuses on a certain technology or a certain product. The generalist SE owns accounts potentially. The specialist SE owns technologies. And they get pulled in by generalist SEs to meet with customers. So they don't own the customer relationship, they just own the technology, and they only get involved when requested by the generalist SE.
And would it be fair to say too, just for my knowledge, when you're talking about this specialist, I would imagine that's probably something that you see at bigger and bigger companies where there's tons of different products they own and support. So that's the distinction there.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one product, the SE should be a specialist in. The generalist is a specialist. But companies like Cisco or VMware or Splunk or the company that I work for, all these have a million different products in a million different industries. Right? You have data center, you have networking, you have security. In one SE, it's impossible for them to know everything. They might know a little bit of everything, so they might go an inch deep and a mile wide. But then you who's going to go in and actually have the discussions with the customers? Well, that's a specialist that they need to bring in.
Sure, gotcha. And then on the sales side, I know this was a question I enjoyed from you on our discussion on your channel in terms of we've talked about you getting handoffs from SDRs, getting set up from maybe other account executives into accounts. What makes a good SDR, and obviously the reverse case is what makes a bad one.
Well, for me, an SDR is someone who actually calls the customer and qualifies a deal. So the bad SDR is someone that can't even set up an appointment. That, in my opinion, the okay SDR is someone who sets up an appointment but can't do a proper qualification. So they don't know BANT or BANT is budget, authority, timeline, and need and timeline, BANT. So they can't even get answers to those questions. Like, do you have money to pay for it? Is there an actual need, or are you tire kicking? When do you need to buy this? And who has the authority to pay for this after we go through the entire sales process, which could take months? So a bad one or an okay SDR doesn't get all the answers to these questions. A good SDR finds a way to do that, and then provides the information to the account manager who can actually help with that. Now, I'm going to add to your question, differentiate between the good account manager in the SE's eye and a bad account manager in the SE's eye.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because SEs usually work with account managers more than they work with SDRs. So, well, again, same thing. A good account manager is someone who can actually close deals. Someone who can, when they bring in an SE, the opportunity is sort of qualified. Someone who doesn't lie. Some account managers, there's a reason some account management has a bad name, like a salesperson. Everyone thinks of a sleazy car salesperson because they do anything to close a deal. I've worked with some of those. Now, most of them are not like that, but there are some. It's like a bell curve. Some great, some really horrible, and everybody else in the middle. Someone who thinks that an SE's job is just to do demos, that's a very bad account manager in my eye, because an SE, if they're involved in the discovery, they can do a much better demo. They can do a much better proof of value. So basically, someone who's a seasoned SE is a gopher instead of a partner. As SEs, we want to be seen as partners. And that's also partially the job of the SE, to make sure that the account manager does see them as a partner. If the SE is just doing whatever an account manager asks them to do, well, you are what the account manager thinks you are. But if you help them change their minds, like, hey, we're doing this demo. If you had given me the chance to do a discovery with the customer, I might have been able to capture the information that we just caught in the middle of the demo, and would have been able to be better prepared for that demo.
Yeah.
If you want, I can give you the answer of a good SE versus a bad SE as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just asking myself questions at this point.
Yeah, run with it. Yeah.
A good SE is someone who can partner with account managers and doesn't lose deals for them. Someone like an account manager can just trust to do their job, to be able to be part of discovery without asking stupid questions that can lose a deal. And when a customer asks for something and the SE has to come back to them, they never have to follow up. Someone who can manage the demo, the proof of value cycle all on their own can, in the end, get what some would consider the technical win. That's what I would see in a very short description what a good SE is.
Yeah, totally. I think there's nothing worse than obviously not naming names, but there's been scenarios where I have to worry about SE going. Like, I've had scenarios where I finally get in front of a CTO or the ultimate decision maker, and then we spend time talking about some workflow feature, that's like 4 levels deep, that's 4 levels under the CTO we're talking to, and you're just sitting there and your whole chest is caving in. But
a good SE knows how to target their conversations to the different people we talk to. One pet peeve of mine when I work with SEs is we get this lead from SDR saying, customer is interested in this product. And we jump on a call, it's not qualified. So I'm trying to qualify the deal. Mm-hmm. And the first thing the SE does is, well, this product does this, and that, and it does this amazingly. It does that. It's like, dude, hold on. We don't even know what the problem is. Why, how do you know that they care about anything you just said? If you didn't ask, what is your, why did you even set up this call? Why, most people don't want to meet with sales teams.
Yeah.
Some people might have a hard time feeling if I see a website that says sign up for a demo, I'm like, screw it. I don't care about the software. I don't even want to try it out. So when you jump on a call with them, their time is valuable, and we need to kind of understand why they even said yes to meeting us. What is the problem that they're trying to solve? And then we can offer a solution. But going back to engineers like to solve problems, we think the problem is solved with that one product, so we just talk about it.
And I guess, maybe kind of on the last part, I'm curious, just your motivation, obviously creating content myself, what motivated you to start We the Sales Engineers, and talk us through that process?
Because I was a horrible SE.
Yeah.
So when I became an SE in 2014, from 2014 to 2016, I was doing the spray and pray methodology. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah. Yeah.
We have like 16 products. I don't know. I just throw out a number every time. It changes. We had a lot of products, and we have a slide deck that has like 300 slides. And we get an unqualified call. We go in front of the customer with the account manager that I was with, and I was brand new, so he's the only one I had to learn from. And he'd just go through, is this interesting for you? Is this interesting for you? You just click in on like the presentation. Like, do you like this? So people bought despite of me, not because of me.
Yeah.
And one time we had a senior VP of sales come up to Ottawa, and he witnessed my spray and pray greatness. And in the middle of the call with the customer, like, it was in person, and I was friends with this customer because I was good at building relationships. He says, "Ramzi, stop! I don't care about anything you're talking about right now."
Okay.
In front of my VP of sales, I'm like, "Okay, what do you care about?" He's like, "I care about that." I'm like, well, I don't have anything ready for that. He's like, well, come back when you're ready.
Okay.
We walk out. We went back to the office. The VP pulls me into the meeting room and says, "Ramzi, that was bad." Like, yeah, why? I thought it went great. I know exactly what he wants now. He's like, "No, you didn't do any discovery." Like, what's a discovery? So at which point I started looking at books. The only books I could find were about sales. There are a few books about sales engineering now, and there were then, but I couldn't find them. And I figured, all right, maybe I should talk to other SEs within the company and learn from them. And I noticed that we're all doing the same mistakes because we're all in that one bubble. No one went outside to learn anything new. And whoever comes new, my SE manager had the tendency of hiring inexperienced SEs and teaching them, except we all learned the same way. So we're all doing the same mistakes. I figured the best way for me to learn is to talk to people outside the company, and the best way to get them to talk to me, which was untrue now that I know that, is to tell them that I have a podcast. So I started a podcast and started talking to people like that. And that was the genesis of the podcast for very selfish reasons, but since then it's changed, and I've learned a lot and I teach a lot.
And I agree. I think that honestly, like in my scenario, I'm sure sales engineering probably even more nuanced and maybe even less content available. But even when I started making content like 2 years ago, I just felt like there was a lot of sales content, but nothing about tech sales, specifically highly technical companies. Like through that process, how much of it has helped you like get better, and then also how much of it is like you uncovering gaps that 80+% of people are dealing with that they're not aware of, right?
How much has helped me get better? I would say 300%. Like that's, if I were to put a number on it, I would say minimum 300%. I'm so much better than what I was when I first started and before I started the podcast, mainly because I talk to you now. I understand a little bit more about SDR and how I can actually help them do their job better. Maybe I should, for those who can't qualify, like from a technical perspective or from a business perspective, maybe I should jump on a call with them and just go through that. Like, hey, if you ever want to get me involved in a deal, this is what we can do. I talked to someone about storytelling. I had never thought about storytelling in the past. And he talks about like, oh, this is a hero's journey. You do this, you do that. It's like, all right, cool. Now I'm thinking about it. How can I apply it to my own work? So yeah, everything, like I have 260, your episode will be 263.
Wow.
So I have, I don't know, 200 interviews. The rest are me just talking, babbling, sharing my knowledge. The best way to learn is to teach, I guess. So through it, like, yeah, I have knowledge from 200 people. I would say I'm 200% better, I guess. If I take one thing from each person that I talk to, and I didn't get 200% overnight. That's the big thing. I got 1% better every time.
Yeah. Awesome. And I think like in conclusion, obviously, you know, if you have any interest in sales engineering, go to We the Sales Engineers on YouTube. And Ramzi, I'll give you the floor as well. Again, if viewers want to reach out to you, follow you, etc., would love you to share that with everyone.
Yeah, my name is Ramzi Marjaba, so you can find me on LinkedIn under Ramzi Marjaba. You can follow We the Sales Engineers on LinkedIn as well. YouTube, We the SEs on Twitter, on Instagram. I need to get better at using that. But if I were to give one piece of advice to anyone listening, whether they use my service or not, and for whatever job they're trying to get into, connect with people, reach out to them, build their network. A lot of them will say no, some of them will say yes. And the ones that will say yes maybe they can't give you the job today, but maybe they can give you the job tomorrow, or they can refer you to someone that can help you get a job. Like I've had people who reach out to one person who says, I don't have anything for you, but I know this person who has something for you. They reach out to that person like, okay, let me talk to my manager on your behalf. And you know, it spirals like that. And it only takes one offer, right? In sales, you kind of have to close 1 million deals to hit quota. With finding a job, you have a quota of 1. Fill up your pipe.
It's great perspective. I think, yeah, absolutely. And people lose sight of the work required, but also overcomplicate what needs to be done instead of just getting after it. So,
Yeah.
Ramzi, really appreciate the insight, and I'm sure we'll probably have future conversations as well. But
I hope so.
thanks as always for your time, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.